All right, welcome along to this interview with Erin Davis. I am so happy to have her back. We recorded an entire video training and it was amazing. We had some great conversations and it didn't record. What a pain in the ass. So, Erin, thank you so much for coming back today. I appreciate you. Um,
You're
so sorry. So Erin is a money coach and she is going to be teaching us a thing or two about money and about our relationship with it and how it massively influences our relation. It's very similar, should I say, to our relationship with health. So it all overlaps. We had a really great conversation. I have no doubt that this one is going to be the same. So, Erin, please introduce yourself. Who are you? What's your background? And how did you get here, essentially?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And look, no problems about doing this again. I love having these money conversations, and it doesn't matter how many times we talk about it. We just need to talk about it more. So totally fine with that. And I sort of just morphed into this place of really wanting to go deeper with women and how their relationship with money plays out and how that influences their overall life. Because I saw so many women doing great things in their business, but still really struggling with their relationship. Like they may be doing really great things, but still didn't feel good. They didn't feel enough. They didn't feel like they were achieving or creating or living that life that they thought that they wanted. So I stepped into this place of helping women on a deeper level, up level their relationship with money, because I know that when you create the life that you want, you live a rich girl life on an everyday girl income. You don't have to have millions of dollars in the bank or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank to feel good and to feel like you have that really good relationship with money and yourself. It's just about how you show up with what you have, the systems you have in place, and the standards you hold for yourself, really. And that's where what led me to this place.
Fantastic, amazing. So, as someone who is absolutely shocking with money, but I'm great with health. It's really interesting because there's a phrase in health coaching that's how you do one thing, it's how you do everything. So, I after our last conversation, it kind of got me thinking as to how I am showing up in my health, the same way that I'm showing up for my money. So, some people will say, well, I'm okay with my money, but not okay with my health, and vice versa. But there are a lot of undercurrent similarities. There are a lot of stories and a lot of things that influence us to take the actions and make the behaviors and take the actions that we choose on a day-to-day basis. So, um, how does how are money decisions driven by our past experiences, and how do our past experiences shape our current reality?
Well, our relationship started long before we had any clue whatsoever what that was. It came from our parents, our siblings, our aunties and uncles, our school, our environment that we grew up with. That situation really dictated to us our relationship with money. And if you ask anybody, they will say they grew up never having enough. Doesn't matter how much they had, it was never enough. And I think that we really link our our self-worth, our the way we see ourselves to money in so many different ways that we don't even realize. And I'll give you an example. My kids' school, they would say to my kids, "You get what you get and you don't get upset." And we used to just say that to our kids as part of, well, that's just what they say. It's a nice little rhyme. But when I actually stopped and thought about it, that is saying, well, I can't ask for what I want. I can't say no. I can't say yes. I just have to accept. And then when we look at that, how does that translate into money? Well, we can't ask for a pay rise. We can't ask for more. We can't say no to things. We can't choose. We just have to accept. And that just plays into our money stories like no tomorrow. So I think money stories are pretty sneaky, they're pretty hidden, and they show up all over the place. And it's not really until you start to become aware of them and the stories that you are telling yourself that you can see the correlation between, well, what am I actually saying to myself on a very subconscious level? You don't even realize that you're saying it. And then how is that impacting the way that I show up and the way that I behave with money? And I like the conversation we had before. We see there are so many similarities with health and food and nutrition and money, the way that we're behaving. And I think that we sort of expect ourselves to be good at everything and to just make a decision and get on with it and do it. That can be okay for some people, but it's really hard for other people. And it comes back to those stories that we are telling ourselves. So while the stories are similar with health and nutrition and food, um, I think the stories in relation to money, they're impacting us at a different level or a different way. And they're still the same stories, but because of our experiences, because of the way we've been, how we've grown up, what's happened to us along the way, that influences our behavior to say yes or no, or to do something or not do something. So I think there's so many similarities with, the way that you see yourself, the way that you value yourself, but those stories have a different interpretation if we're talking about nutrition or food or money or self-worth or anything else. It's the interpretation that that particular story has in relation to that subject. And we could believe something totally different about money, the same as nutrition and health, and we believe that to be our truth, 100% true, but the other person doesn't think it's true. So it's, how does that resonate with you? How does it feel for you? Does it sit right? Does it not sit right? What impact does that have on you? I think that then leads to, well, how are you going to make that decision? Like you said before, you're great with your nutrition and your exercise and your relationship with food. But money is not one of your strong suits. So
No.
how have you grown up with money? What has happened along the way? What have you said to yourself? What have you proved to yourself that you can do or you can't do? Because we
Mm,
we show ourselves evidence all the time, right? That we can or we can't do something. And then we play
mm.
more into those stories.
Yeah. I just wanted to kind of reiterate what we mean by stories because this shows up quite a lot in my practice as well. And, I think we discussed on the last call how much the similarities it's so uncanny. We could be taught, you could literally have the same conversation and change the word money for health.
Yeah.
And we would have the same conversation. But when we say stories, because I feel like a lot of people will say, well, what do you mean by stories? Because what I think by stories is, something that someone told me that I found out was not true, like a bedtime story, right? But
Hmm.
when we're talking about stories, we also are kind of, a lot of the time we start getting people to question their belief systems and what they believe is true. So, and this is kind of like throwing you under the bus here a little bit, but what do you think about the difference between the truth and stories, and how can we determine the difference there?
Well, the truth is the truth for you, right? So like I said, the truth for you could be totally different to the truth to me. And it's, what do we believe, and does that belief serve us? And so, if that belief is something that is causing you to feel unsettled, not calm within yourself, it's causing you to feel uneasy, but maybe you're not quite sure why or how, you're not sure what to do, but you just know that something's not quite right, that's where I think we need to start to question those beliefs. Because, like I said, somebody believes the exact opposite to you, and they 100% believe that to be true. And if that serves them and it works for them and they are happy with it, then that is totally fine. But if it doesn't serve them, then that's where we need to do something about it. So, a story or a belief can be anything at all that you have told yourself in relation to the subject matter. So when we're talking about money stories, it could be, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work really hard to be successful. Money doesn't come easy. Like, oh, I don't deserve this because I didn't work hard enough, or some other money stories. Let me just find, I have got a whole heap of money stories here.
I could tell you some of
Um,
mine.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm the responsible one, so I need to be the one to make the decisions. Money never feels safe, no matter how much I earn. Money comes and goes as quickly, or it comes in and it goes out just as quick. It's all of these things are how we are just perceiving, because money stories are like these broad, overarching ways we see the world. Like they're the script that we've really been living with money.
And
And
handed.
yeah, yeah. And the limiting beliefs are like that next level down. They're the ones that we seem to think about ourselves and the way we show up with money. Like, I'm bad with money. I can't do it. No matter what I do, I'm never good enough at this stuff. Um, I need to earn more in order to feel safe. I'll do it when I have more money. I never have enough. It's too late for me. All
Mm-hmm.
of those things, they sort of come back to those I statements and those things that we feel about ourselves. So the
Mm-hmm.
money story is like that overarching belief that we live by, but
Mm-hmm.
then the limiting beliefs are those deeper, more personal things that we feel about ourselves. And
Mm.
again, if they don't serve you, it doesn't matter what they are, then they're not right. There's something
Yeah.
there that you need to change. And so it's not really about, well, what is the story that you're telling yourself? It's more like, do you feel good? Are you feeling in control? Are you feeling calm? Are you feeling safe? Are you feeling looked after and supported and really confident with your money? If you're not, then something's not right.
Right. And it's the story that you're telling yourself. I like to
Mm,
tell my
mm.
clients that your belief systems and your thoughts are barely ever true. They're barely ever true. And I think in this scenario is if you are telling yourself something about money and you're not happy with your money, and again, we can exchange the word money for health. If you're telling something about yourself about your health and you're not happy with your health, um, the stories and your belief systems are probably one of the first places we can start to question. It's like, is this actually true? Like you were saying, does it serve me? But I like to start questioning the belief system and say, hang on a second, where could this not be true? Because we wholeheartedly believe that what we believe is the truth, right? We've
Mm.
all met that person who just won't budge their mindset because they believe they're true. I think in essence, we're all like this. And the beliefs that we have, or everything, the way that we look at the world, what we think about ourselves, what we think about our past and our history, I think so much of it is a belief, and a belief isn't necessarily true or false. And I think there's a level of awareness that when you start tapping into self-development and personal development, we have to start questioning those belief systems and say, okay, what got me here? Was that the truth, or was that just something that I believed as true?
Well, it all comes back to our perception, right? We can make anything true. We can tell ourselves anything and make it the truth because we want to justify it to ourselves. We want to validate ourselves. We want to validate our behaviors that we've done in the past because we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to look like we've done the wrong thing or that we can't do something. So, to ourselves, we want to prove to ourselves that we are right, that we are doing the right thing. And so, these perceptions that we have is keeping us in that space. And I see a lot of women who actually live in money chaos. They are completely chaotic. They feel stressed and overwhelmed, but that feels safe for them because that is all they have ever known. To go and feel calm and confident and in control, that feels really, really scary. And it keeps pulling them back into this chaotic space because that's familiar. And I
Mm,
think that's the same with health too, right? It's scary. We don't know what we don't know yet. And in order to create something different, we need to do something different. But that pull of the familiarity of what we're used to keeps dragging us back in. And it's got to be up to us to decide, yes, I am wholeheartedly in this. I am ready to do things differently, open up, look at things in a different way. Like I had a client message me this week actually, and she said to me, she did my program about 12 months ago, got great results, really good movement, and was doing things. But she said, um, like I said, yes, I wanted to change things, but I I don't think I was totally a yes. Whereas she has done things now based on what we did, but she's built on it. And she said, I am a wholehearted yes, and it feels totally different. And I think
Wow.
that's the difference with it because we open people's eyes up to seeing things differently. But unless
Yes.
you are a wholehearted yes, nobody can make you change. Nobody can get you to do anything because what happens behind closed doors? What happens when
Mm,
nobody's watching? That's the most important thing. And if you are not ready to own this unfamiliar space and this really, unfamiliar territory, then that familiar stuff is going to keep dragging you back. So I think it's all about what's the quarter inch turn? What's the thing that you can do that just puts you into that next step? Like, what's the next step I need to do? So rather than thinking about the whole big process or the whole big change that you need, have the end goal, but just what's the next step? Do that,
mhm.
get familiar, get comfortable, show yourself that you can do it, prove to yourself that you can do it and you're feeling good and it's sustainable, and then do the next thing. And that's what I teach
Gotcha.
my clients because I don't want them to feel completely overwhelmed and out of their depth and not do it. I want it to be sustainable.
Yeah, and that's exactly I think why we get along so well is because both of our approaches, money and health, we look for the sustainable methods. You know, you're not looking for a get rich quick and blow it all, and I'm not looking to help people lose 10, 20 pounds and regain it and be part of the 94. And I'm wondering if there's a very similar statistic of like people who get given money, people who get given like the weight loss very quickly like that there's a statistic that 94, 95% of women will regain it and more within 5 years. And I'm sure there's a similar statistic. And I know that I was listening to a podcast yesterday on the fact that most people who win the lottery will lose it
Mm,
all because they were not ready or they were not willing to change their identity piece. They got it and maybe they didn't have a level of awareness that they needed the identity to change in their actions and behaviors, and so therefore they blew it, sticking with the same experiences, the same stories and the same belief system that they had when they were broke, essentially. And I'm just
mm.
just
Yeah.
guessing they were
Yeah,
broke.
totally agree. Because if you can't manage $1,000 or $100, you can't manage 1,000. If you can't manage 1,000, you can't manage 10,000. So it doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have. If
Mm,
you can't manage it and you don't feel safe and secure and confident and in control and empowered, it doesn't matter how much money you have, it's not going to stick around. And so that's why my approach is very much we have the strategy, we have all the tools, but we have to work on this purpose piece and the mindset piece because if you don't do both together, it doesn't work. It
mm,
doesn't stick. It's not sustainable. That's why budgets don't really work for people.
mm,
If you, a lot of people come to me and say, oh, I just need a budget or I just need to do this. But if you're not addressing the underlying behaviors about why you're spending or not spending or saving, not saving, then it doesn't matter. The budget might stick for a little while, but it's not sustainable. You're just not going to stick to it because you haven't addressed what's actually how you feel about yourself, how you show up for yourself, the standards that you hold, any of those things. You haven't addressed that. So these practical tools, you could use AI to create any um, money system, budget, spreadsheet, whatever that is. But if you don't address these other things, it's not going to stick.
And I just want to take a moment to say, if you're watching this, you'll probably come from my world. How many times have I said a meal plan, a budgeting sheet, right? A meal plan and a budgeting sheet, you can get them from AI, you can download them today, you can download them tomorrow. That's not going to change if the behaviors, the belief system is not going to be addressed, right? If we
Mhm.
don't address
Mhm.
that, if we don't address the problem at the root, then we're never going to fix the symptoms. And the symptoms is the lack of money or the lack of health, the lack of energy, the weight
Yeah,
gain.
yeah. Or the spend as quickly as it comes in, having nothing left at the end of the week, living paycheck to paycheck and, blowing everything on a Friday and or blowing it all on the weekend and you start Monday again with nothing. Like it just
Yeah.
is a cycle that just keeps repeating. And that in itself causes stress and overwhelm and heaviness that you can't choose. You can't choose what you want to do or how you want to be because you always have this heaviness and this unseen weight of, well, I don't know how to pay the bills. I don't know where the money's coming from. I don't know where I'm going to get my next clients from if you're in business or when are they going to pay me? Like there's so much heaviness that comes with it that just then dictates how we show up in the rest of our life. So money is just such an important piece to our overall wealth and health. And we talk about, well-being, mental well-being, but there is so much importance on financial well-being and financial health that we just don't talk about because money is very secret. It's very exposing. It's very vulnerable. We feel very embarrassed about where we are with our money, or we should be further along, or we should have this stuff sorted. We're grown adults and women that we should have all of this done, right? We should know how to do this, but we're not taught in schools. We're not having the conversations with our parents as we're growing up. That's changing, but it's still, we've got a long way to go. And like my daughters are going to have so much more financial literacy than what I had growing up because my mum just didn't talk about it because her mum didn't talk about it. But
Mm.
we just have it as normal conversation in our house. My girls are investing, they've got a budget. One's moved out of home, so she's managing her household income. She's saved a heap of money. She's had to manage her rent and car loan and all the things. And she's investing. She's got money invested. And she just asked the question. And she's like, "Oh, thank you so much for teaching me about money." I'm like, "Okay, did I?" I don't really know, but it's just because of the normal conversation. So
Mm.
her friends are just having such different conversations that she didn't realize that ours was just that's a normal conversation for us, but it's not a normal conversation for a lot of people. And I think, when you sort your stuff out, whether it's health or money, it radiates out to everybody in your world, your kids, your family, your friends, your network. You show up as a happier person. You show up with more calmness and in control, and you are doing things, you're having different conversations. That just radiates out to everybody in your network and they latch onto it. They start to do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we see this so much in the health space. There's a very, very small percentage of influence that genetics has with health. So yes, we can pass down some health traits and, for example, like, our tastes and where we store body fat. And I'm sure there's probably the generational wealth that we can pass down. So that's almost like the DNA version. Um, but the rest of it is what we say, how we act. And that actually brings me on to something that we talked about last time when we didn't record, which I think is really important to bring up, is money is this, and we kind of you almost verging on it. Money is this like taboo, this nasty, and if you've got money, then you're a bad person, or bad people do bad things with money, when it is just merely a currency, the same as energy is a currency. So, um, I guess how do you take this mindset shift and make it work for you? Or how would you do that
Yes.
with a
Yeah.
client?
So I think, and look, I have really struggled with this in the past, and I think I have linked success to money so much, and I have wanted that return on investment for everything that I do. And I think being the accountant, I'm very logical in that space, and I have always wanted the return. So I've very much been leading with my head instead of my heart, and I've found it really challenging to just let things flow and let things evolve and happen because I've always had so much pressure on myself to perform and then have money. So, money is the outcome that I have wanted. But if we take a step back and go, well, women can do so much good if they have money. They do so many beautiful things in the world if they have money. It gives freedom and choice. It gives us the opportunity to do the things that we want to do. Like we can pick the kids up from school, we can be work from home, we can work part-time, we can donate, we can volunteer, we can do so many good things if we have money.
Mm.
And I think if we start to change the way that we're seeing money, money is just an exchange. Like you said, it's just a payment for service or goods. But we attach so much story and energy to it that then that creates the heaviness because money is just money. It's just a thing. But we attach the story and the heaviness and the emotion to it, which then says whether we spend, we don't spend, we save, we don't save. We get caught up with the lifestyle creep of I have to have all of this stuff or I have to do all of these things. But when we take it back to, well, what are the things that really make me happy? What is it that I want? How do I want to live in this world? We are so materialistic now compared to what our parents were or our grandparents were. There are people in the world that have nothing material, yet they are so beautifully happy. So where is this drive coming from that we need more, we have to have more? We're so consumerized with everything that is leading to this disconnect with, well, what is it that we truly want? And that's where I talk about, well, what does a grounded rich girl look like? She doesn't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. She needs to be able to choose. She is decisive. Makes she feels calm with money. She's allowed to show up in a way that feels aligned and feels good for her, whatever that looks like. And so it's create your own version of rich. And I think if we bring it back to what is it that we actually want, we can start to shift the energy around money because it's just a tool that we use, but we just put so much weight and emotion onto it. And I think that's where we need to take a step back and work out, well, what is it that we actually want? Yes, we need to pay the bills, and yes, we've got commitments, but are we overcommitted? Are we living in a place that we can't afford, but we need to be there because that's where society expects us to be or where we think we need to be? Why do we need to buy so many clothes? Why do we need to go on so many holidays or things that cost so much money? If you want to do it, that's totally fine. But if it is causing you financial hardship and stress, the motive for wanting it needs to be questioned
Yeah,
because
and
it's
money.
like, well, what's going on there?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. And it seems like money, therefore, again, it brings it back down to money is not the problem. It's your relationship to money. Money is just a vehicle. Um, money will get you anywhere. And it can help you get anywhere. And I think again, it's that vehicle and it's how you use it, how you approach it, the emotion that you attach to it, and the story that you attach to it, because I think a lot of people will resonate with the stories of money doesn't grow on trees. And also like even my parents right now, they'll be like, oh, there's not much money around. I'm like,
Mm,
there is a shit ton of money. Money doesn't just
mm.
disappear off the face of the earth. It doesn't just go, right? Maybe some people manage to hide some numbers somehow, but it doesn't go. It is there. It has got nothing to do with money and everything to do with your relationship and where you're spending it, and where you
Who are you
decide.
hanging out with too? Like, who are you talking to? Who are you associating with? Because if you put yourself in a different group of people, like I think that's why I really liked our coach because she showed me what was possible, what
Mm,
was actually physically possible. And I think until you see that, you don't think it's actually possible for you because
mhm.
of all of these things that we've got going on and that the beliefs and the stories that we tell ourselves. If you haven't seen it, it's hard to put yourself in that position as saying that that's available for you too. And when we want something different, it's about changing the way we're thinking and doing things. And if you can't see what that looks like, it makes it really hard to believe that that's available for you.
Mm, yeah, 100%. And again, with health, if you have grown up in a family who are obese, who have unhealthy relationship with food, who have an unhealthy relationship with money, it's very likely that you are going to receive that as your story. But again, this is where I say to people, well, you need to start questioning your belief system, start questioning what is actually right and what could potentially have, could just have the potential to be wrong or different so that you can start to go, hang on a minute, maybe there is money out there. Maybe it is my relationship with food. Maybe it is my relationship with money. And just it's like that, like just tapping a little crack into the stone and saying, okay, what else could be true? Not that everything that you
Mm,
believe is wrong, but what else could be true? It's like there's no money around, or nobody has any money at the moment. But also there are people with money, right? So it's about going, okay, what else is true? And I actually had this
mm,
conversation with a coaching client of mine a couple of years back, and she said the same. I think this was around about the first business trip that I went on, and she said to me, "Just people don't have any money at the moment." And I said, "Are you kidding me? 2 weeks ago, I was just sitting in a room with six-figure coaches. There's money."
mm,
100%.
mm,
And after that realization, just that little tiny tap in the stone, it's like, okay, my belief system, it means that I'm kind of hanging around people who don't have money. It means that I'm confirming. And guys, the more you see this, the more you're confirming the belief to be true. So when you start cracking open and start tapping the stone, crack it open and see what else is possible, you will start seeing more evidence that that is possible. So then your brain goes, okay, yes, I see this is more true now. Um,
mm.
Amazing.
And
Sorry, I
then you
love
can
going on
start
little
to,
tangents.
yeah, but that's okay. But I then think you start to question, is this possible for me? You start to try it on for size. You start to just, up level your standards, the way you show up for yourself. We keep so many promises to the ones that we love, but we don't keep the promises to ourselves. And I think that is because we're just of service to everybody else. Most of us are wanting to, do everything for everybody else, or be there for other people, but we don't show up for ourselves. So
Mm,
when you start to crack it open, like you said, you start to go, oh, this is possible. What little things can you do for yourself? How can you just show up in a slightly different way for yourself to prove to yourself, give yourself the evidence that you can do it, that you are good with money, that you are good with health, you are able, you are capable. You then start to just dig a little deeper and then do the next thing and then do the next thing and then do the next thing. And before
mm,
you know it, you're just so much further ahead than what you were when you started. And you don't even realize that you've moved because
hmm
it's just been so little and so gradual.
100%. I get to the end of my program with a client, and I will, like, throughout all of our sessions, I'm constantly writing down all of the things that they're achieving. 6 months, three
Mm,
months, 12 months down the line, I'll say to them, and I joke about this, and so I don't, I like, I'm very open with this. I'll say to them 12 months down the line, what's changed? And they'll say, oh,
not
honestly, I
much.
don't feel like much has changed. Yeah. And I'm like,
Not much.
okay then. All right, my light has just died. All right, okay then. How about and then like I have like 30 things that they have changed, and they're like, oh my God,
Oh,
because the change was so slow and gradual, it didn't feel like they woke up one day and had to change their life overnight, right? And that's,
mm,
I think
mm,
that's the thing with lose weight fast and get rich quick. We are so obsessed with having to change everything overnight that when it's slow and gradual, it feels so natural that to do anything different by the end of the program just feels foreign and unnatural, which I think is
mm.
the most sustainable approach to gaining weight, losing weight, getting money, and
Yep,
becoming
I totally agree.
grounded.
Totally agree.
Awesome. Okay, so how are we going to get stinking filthy rich? We all want to know. We all want to know, how do we get on top of our money so we can feel in control, so we can feel so we can lead with money instead of being reactive to it. And of course, maybe this is a two-part question. How do we get filthy
Yep.
stinking rich?
Filthy stinking rich, right. Well, first of all, you need to draw a line in the sand and you need to have a look with a really open and honest conversation with yourself. what have I done in the past? Like review your bank statements for the last month. Where did I spend? What did I do? Open and honest, no judgment, no story, no shame, no nothing. It's just numbers, right? They're just
Very
numbers on a
neutral.
page.
Yeah.
Very neutral. We're just got the information. Now that we have the information, what are we going to do with it? So, where do you want to spend? What are your goals? How do you want to be? Like those big picture things. And then it's like one step at a time. So, what is the things that you need to do in order to create that? So, it's really about mapping out a pathway and automating things as much as you can. We want to take you out of the picture because we're the ones that stuff it all up and get in the way. So, how can we look at what we've done, automate, set, and then forget, but then come back and review? So it's not about, just do it once and it's all done. It's all about the little changes. Have a look at, well, where did I spend? Is that where I thought I'd spend? I used to think we'd never spend anything on takeaway, ever, because we don't go out to restaurants every week. We don't do, big fancy meals, anything like that. But when I actually tracked it and had a look at it, it's our second biggest expense, groceries and then takeaway. And it's the coffees, it's the little snacks here, it's the, if we run to Macca's, which I know that's not good for a health coach, but if we just duck into McDonald's and we get something, there goes $30. Or if we pick up this, then we pick up that. All of those things add up and we don't even realize, we don't even know that they're the issue.
I just want to pause you there. Exactly the same, right? Exactly the same when it comes to our health, guys. If you're listening to this and you're like, "Oh my God, yeah, maybe that's a similar thing to me." It's in the little extra bites, the little stopping off at the shop and the grabbing the little things. It's, we think, "Oh, it's because I overate or I drank a glass of wine or I bought that handbag." It's probably not that one big thing. It's
Mm.
the
It's all the
surmise of
little
all of
things.
the little things. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yep.
that's where the money goes and that's where the calories go.
Yep. And I had no idea of the extent of it. And it wasn't until I tracked it and I got this big reality wake up call. I was like, ah, oh, okay,
Ah,
right.
shit.
Oh, right then. So that's where all the money's going. So it's like feeling like we never have anything left at the end of the week. No, we don't spend anything on takeaway. We don't go out. We don't go do this. But yes, we do. And so
Mm,
that really honest conversation was then about, well, having a conversation with my husband. Look, this is what's happening. This is where it's going. What are we going to do with that information? And I am not about depriving or saying, no, you can't have the coffee, or no, you can't do this, you can't do that. That's not it at all. But what I do say is, if you have that, then you can't have this.
mm,
Everything is a choice. And if you
mm,
choose that, that is totally fine. But you can't then get shitty that you don't have this because you've taken this. So it's
mm.
about really choosing and being very intentional. My clients joke about it and they've got they love this word intention. Everything is intentional. Intentional spending. It is, does it align? Does it match my goals? Does it match the bigger picture, or am I just here for the instant gratification, the instant win, the instant thing that I need? Or am I committed to my big goals or my big plan, whatever that is, and really committed to it? Not just lip service and saying, yes, I'm committed, but you're half-assing it and you're not really showing up for yourself. So that realization is massive. And I think we really underestimate just how important that awareness piece is, because once you have the awareness, you then have the information. You can then choose, how do you show up? How do you want to behave? What standards are you going to raise? What way are you going to show up for yourself? What systems are you going to put in place? What conversations are you going to have? What do you need to learn? Where do you need help and support? Where do you need barriers put in or boundaries put in so that you don't, because you know yourself and you know you're going to overstep the boundaries. So I think that awareness piece is so crucial that we just don't give it enough credit because we're caught up in the day to day, we're caught up in the familiar, and it's scary and it's a bit confronting and a bit embarrassing, really.
I love that. I love that. Amazing. So if there's any, do you have any like tips, tidbits, or anything that you can share with my audience on money stories, anything that's come up today?
Yeah, look, I've got a masterclass that I will share with your audience. I'll give you the details of that. And that is really about the first step about taking back your money power. And it is about how do we really need the awareness. So you need to spend the time to create the awareness, pay attention to what you're saying to yourself. You know, it might not happen in the moment, but it's about reflecting on what's happened, so then you have better information to decide how you want to move forward and what you want to do next time. And I always say it's one step at a time. I am a runner and I run long distances. I don't think about the finish line. Yes, the finish line is there, but to get to the finish line, it is one step at a time. It is one foot in front of the other. And it's the same with money. You just need to do the next thing. So, what is the next thing I need to do? Do that, then do the next thing after that. Yes, you have the big goals in place, but you know that can feel big and overwhelming. And how do I get there? I don't really know how to get there. But all you need to do is make one decision. It's one decision at a time. Just get quicker and good at making one decision.
Mm,
Like, what's the worst case scenario, really? What's the worst thing that can happen? You make a decision, it's not quite right, you make another decision. It's not quite right, you make another decision. And so I think we get so caught up in having to have everything right and perfect and sorted in order to get started. Just
mm.
start from where you're at, make one decision, and then you make the next decision. Do that, then make the next decision. And I think we just overcomplicate things way too much. It doesn't need to be complicated. We need to just bring it back, simple, just go through the motions. It's dull, it's boring, but it's sustainable. And that's where we need to be.
I think that also comes from a fear of failure,
Mm,
but also a fear of like wasting time or wasting money.
yep,
So
yep.
I see people, they worry that they waste their time by trying something and it doesn't work. So they sit in inaction and waste their time anyway because
Well, time
they're
is
not
going to
good.
pass either way, right? Time is
Hmm.
going either way, whether you do something or you don't do something. And you can be sitting here in 12 months' time feeling the same shitty feelings, feeling inadequate, not enough, I can't do it, I'm bad with money. Or you could have made 365 tiny little micro steps that have, or little decisions that are putting you in such a different place to where you were before. It all just comes back to that choice. You've got to, I think you've really got to own it and you've got to decide. You have to decide for yourself that this is what you want, and nobody can make you do that for you. Yes, there are people that support you along the way and help you and keep you accountable, but you need to decide. I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't want to feel broke all the time. I don't want to have no money in the bank account. I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck every single week. So what am I going to do about it? That then puts you on the path of change.
I think life is far too short. Unless you are happy exactly where you are, I think life is far too short to not question your thoughts, not question your beliefs, not have a look at what's going on in the things that you want to change. So if you want to change your health, if you want to change your wealth, like you can't waste time sitting and hoping and praying. You can't
Yeah,
waste
it
time
doesn't work.
no, believing your stories, the thoughts, the experiences that you have with money are now set in stone for the rest of your life. Because everything
Mm,
can change. We have neuroplasticity, which means that we can rewire our brain, change the way that we think, the way that we act around money, wealth, whatever it is,
health,
career.
anything,
Yes,
anything.
exactly. Exactly. Amazing. So you mentioned about a mini course that you would love to share with my audience.
Mhm.
And would you like to just give us an explanation of that and where my audience can find you?
Yeah, so I'm on socials, Erin Davis Money, and on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the places. I've just started on TikTok, so head on over there and give me a little like and follow
God, I
and
don't do TikTok. There's
yeah.
already too many platforms for me.
crazy, crazy. But the masterclass is really about taking back your power. So that is that first step to the awareness piece. It is really the introduction, pretty much what we have spoken about today, but it goes deeper into like what is driving those behaviors because that awareness piece means you then have the information, you can choose what you want to do with it next. And it's a really beautiful introduction. There's some videos, easy modules to look at. It's not very long, but it just really puts you on that path to that's the next step.
Fantastic. And where can we find you? You said Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook,
Facebook,
right?
LinkedIn,
LinkedIn,
yep, all
everywhere.
over.
I'll drop in the
You can put
notes
all
in
the
the
links.
description.
Yeah.
I'll put in all the links. Any final last words, anything else that you would like to add, or do you feel like that wraps it up nicely?
Yeah, look, I would just say we all have done things in the past that we're not proud of with health, with money. I've made some really bad money mistakes and I've been really hard on myself, thinking that I should know better or I should do better or I should have this stuff all together. Um, the most important thing is to be kind to yourself and just start from where you're at. You don't
Mm,
have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know the full path or the whole process. You literally just need to put one foot in front of the other and just move. And that will create so much change that you just won't even know, you won't know that situation in 12 months' time.
mm, absolutely. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming back, for re-recording. I appreciate
You're
you.
welcome.
Um, Go and check Erin out. She's amazing. And anything that you can apply to health, you can apply to wealth too. So this is like a really great training because I think anyone can go in both directions with everything that you've said, everything that I've said, and taking it either way.
Mm,
And if you need help with wealth, then you have the systems, and together we've got the mindset. If you need health, I've got the systems. Together we've got the mindset. So yes, really, you can life is too short to listen to your beliefs and take your past experiences as your future. So change that, and you can change anything. Thank you so much for coming on, Erin. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful
you're
day.
welcome. Thanks.